You have a very inspiring childhood that I think relate to many.
To what's going on, learning, asking a lot of questions. Probably in the early days, I was supposed to be in a car seat. I was standing in the seat of a dump truck riding down the road. And so as I got older, have it branded, bring the product over, control my cost the best that I can. And so from talking
Individuals who can't relate to it, it can be a shock of reality of how well off they are. And so sometimes looking at some of these bigger companies and smaller companies and the amount of wealth and their bottom line, even look at publicly traded companies.
what do I want to be? What do I want to do? And going into high school, I had a teacher ask me, what do you want to be in 10 years?
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Suits and Shoes. As we progress through the year and dive deep into season 2, I've brought together some of the most unique stories I've ever heard in my life. And believe me, as you know, I've had a lot of stories to share, from grandparents that were persecuted and a great-grandfather that was held in a communist prison camp. There's so many stories, and each one of us has a story. And so if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And today we have a unique guest, one that is very close to heart in regards to his story and then how it aligns with my story and my journey. The main difference is my journey is just starting and his journey is probably halfway through. And so today we have Brooks Norris. Brooks, just in short, grew up in a mobile home and later to acquire the whole mobile home park, and today to fly in on your own plane is just an extraordinary accomplishment and proof that the American dream is still alive. So Brooks, what does it take to be Brooks?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that nice welcome. In a day's time, in the mornings, it usually starts out catching up with my leadership. Couple things that happened a few years ago is I had a son get sick.
Wow.
Got a son that got sick with stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
And it's like God put the right people around me for the right time. And I had hired a COO to run operations, spent 42 years at Walmart.
Wow.
And so a guy named Kelly Clark, Kelly's my right-hand man. And so we usually catch up in the mornings and get things kicked off on all the companies. We're vertically integrated. We're a multi-family developer. We've built over 1,800 units in the space, from duplexes to houses, duplex communities, student housing. And many years ago, I decided I wanted to be the best developer I could be. And so with vertical integration, from being the contractor to being the guy that could do the dirt work and utilities, that's a big variable on multi-family projects. Yeah. To owning the supply chain, I learned how to buy product overseas, have it branded, bring the product over, control my cost the best that I can. And so from talking to the leadership at the headquarters to talking to my leaders in my individual companies, managing the pace that we're doing things and planning out months in ahead, what we're going to do this. And it's during COVID, it changed everything. When materials got real scarce, we had a lot of materials. And so we were able to keep going and never miss a beat. And so there was a time to stockpile materials, and now that we have a lot of materials available, now's the time to be thin on materials. And so there's a lot of communication throughout the week. It's been a blessing, but like yourself, hearing your story, it's 16-hour workday, 7 days a week. We have friends that come over on the weekend and they'll see me working on a Sunday and or up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, still working. And just because it's Sunday don't mean your brain stops. And so Sunday night, as you're going to bed, everybody else is spending time with family, you're trying to figure out, is Monday, what's going on Monday morning? Is everybody lined out? And so to have success, you just have to have that kind of mindset.
You have a very inspiring childhood that I think can relate to many, and then the remaining individuals who can't relate to it, it can be a shock of reality of how well off they are. And so I'd like to start off with your early childhood and covering how it shaped you into the individual that you are today.
Well, as I was growing up, my grandpa owned a construction company. Back in those days, they done everything. When they built the house, they would pour the concrete, they would lay the bricks,
Wow.
they would frame the houses, they'd build the cabinets, they done everything. So I grew up in the industry. My first piece of equipment to drive was a backhoe. Helped my grandpa taught me at an early age how to drive a backhoe, and so being around it, paying attention to what's going on, learning, asking a lot of questions. You know, probably in the early days, I was supposed to be in a car seat. I was standing in the seat of a dump truck riding down the road. And so as I got older and as I was trying to figure out my way in life, I was, you know, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? And going into high school, I had a teacher ask me, what do you want to be in 10 years? I said, I want a new pickup and a dirt bike. So I was not around people that had a lot of money.
No.
I wasn't around people that was dreaming big. But I just wanted more out of life.
Yeah.
And so I started dreaming. And I just was blessed to have people around me that would share their stories. In my teenage years, I can remember going to the diner and talking to guys and hearing their stories. And I've always listened. And I've always said, okay, if I can take their failures and make sure I don't make them,
Yes.
what can I do different?
Yes.
And so I have a lot of breakfast meetings with a lot of people in their 70s and 80s to just keep their arms around me and make sure I'm going in the right direction and making the good decisions. But it's not been easy. It's been hard. I had a guy tell me the other day, he's in the leadership at Walmart, and he said, Brooks, we made a lot of mistakes, but what did we learn from those mistakes?
Yeah.
And what do we do going forward to make sure we don't make those same mistakes? And I look at my company and what I've done, and, you know, you mitigate risk. You know, a lot of times what you're doing is you're mitigating risk. And so it's easy to chase rabbits. It's easy to do a lot of different things, but it's what's important and what's the core of your business. And so the number one thing is keeping God in your life, because when that boy got sick, and I was at the top floor of that building, and I had a lot going on, owned a lot of companies and over 200 employees, and I'm like, okay, wow, I can't turn this phone off.
Yeah.
But I got to turn this phone off because my son's health is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of soul searching when all that happened.
Yeah.
And so having God in your life gets you through those things.
Yeah.
Having a good wife that's your best friend.
Yeah.
And me and my wife's high school sweethearts. We've been together since we were 17 years old. And we've got 3 beautiful boys together, 18, 15, and 10. And she's my best friend.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
amazing. What did you learn most in that moment when you were managing hundreds of millions of dollars and had all these projects going on, and you received the news, stage 4 cancer?
Well, I'll tell you, we went to the hospital. My wife's in the medical field, so it's kind of a crazy story how it all came about, but he had testicular cancer.
Wow.
Nobody wants to talk about that issue, right? And so we end up going to the doctor, and the doctor tells us that he's got a 80% chance of survival.
Wow.
That means there's a 20% chance of death. Before we go to the meeting, we find out that a good friend of ours, brother, just died of testicular cancer. So we were scared going in. So we go in there and we meet with a doctor in Northwest Arkansas, and we find out how bad it is. We leave. We go to eat lunch. We're sitting at the table. My son's 17 years old at the time. I'm about to cry. His mama's about to cry, and he looks at me and he says, Dad, all those things that doctor said could happen. Let's eat lunch today, and let's don't worry about things that can happen. Let's don't worry about them until they happen.
Wow.
And I'm like, whew, that's giving old Dad some strength.
Yeah.
But, you know, as the tears were rolling down my eyes and all I could think about is his health, it's like, this is right. We got this. And so he was the first kid not to receive a blood transfusion.
Wow.
During chemo, he went through 52 rounds of chemo.
Wow.
We went in every other Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday.
Wow.
Every other week. I slept in the parking lot of the hospital every other week.
Wow.
It was, you think about things. It slows you down.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, what can I do different? What can I do to spend more time with the kids? But he gave me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And he was so strong. But again, he was the first one not to receive a blood transfusion, first one not to receive magnesium, and the first kid to gain weight, not lose weight.
Wow.
But it was his faith and his strength to eat. When you have chemo, you lose all your taste buds. We'd take him to Hooters or Buffalo Wild Wings. He'd eat the spiciest food he could get just so he could taste a little bit.
Wow.
And he just kept eating.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing, but everybody stayed strong. You know, I say, son, how do we take negatives and make them positives?
Yeah.
He got chosen every year at the rodeo. They do a Tough Enough to Wear Pink on a Friday.
Yeah.
And every year it's been somebody that survived breast cancer. They chose him this last year for surviving testicular cancer.
That's extraordinary.
So the producer of the rodeo said, I want you to make a video. Yeah. So I gave him my film crew and I said, go to the farm, make you a video. Yeah. I'm not going to be involved. And I said, but I want you to share your story and share your story in a way to change the lives of other people.
Yeah.
Somebody that's got a swollen testicle is not going to say something to mom. Coach them in a way to speak up.
Yeah.
Because it's better to speak up sooner than later.
Yeah.
So we had the video shot. We go to the rodeo. It gets played. And it wasn't about him. It was about telling your story and inspiring other people. Yeah. Everybody was crying in the rodeo, but that boy walked out in the middle of that arena by himself. We stood to the edge. He got to shake his hand. Everybody cried, waved at him.
Wow.
And we walked out there with him.
Wow,
that
so
was
amazing.
Inspiring to see him share his story, to take a negative and turn it into a positive.
Wow, that's a powerful, life-changing moment. Has he considered writing a book or documenting more of the story?
I've already started.
That's amazing.
I've spent about 4 to 5 hours writing already.
That's amazing. It's so relatable. Like I'm sitting here and I'm taking all sorts of lessons for myself and my business and my faith, and how any challenging moment when you surrender and trust God can be led through it. I want to talk about starting points. So many times people they're so scared to start, whether it's in the middle of a catastrophe or whether it's pursuing a new opportunity. I like to many times share my story of how I started 27 North. You know, I started the resources that I had. I sold my wife's car, our home, moved in with my in-laws, had $10,000, and we started 27 North. We started the resources that we had. You just have to start. Share with me your start, your beginnings. How did you take those first steps in building the business that you have today?
So, again, my family was in the construction industry.
Yeah.
My girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, her dad owned a supply company. And I told him, I said, I want to be an electrician when I graduate high school. He said, not if I got anything to do with it. So he brought me in and he taught me the ropes. He taught me how to build interior doors, taught me how to run the door shop, taught me how to deliver, taught me how to treat people. Yeah. Then he taught me how to run sales. During that process, in his spare time, he built multifamily. So every night I'd go with him. We'd go eat dinner at 4:30, and then he would take me. We would dig the footings. We'd pour the. Wow. We would pour the footings.
How old were you?
I was 19,
wow.
19, 20 years old.
Wow.
Never made a dollar. Never made a dollar helping him at night. But the things he taught me, I carried for the rest of my life.
That's amazing.
And so I'm working for him. I'm being a salesman, and I said, Sam, I think I want to trim houses. He went and bought all the tools. I got a job. He met me on that job on a Saturday morning, and he said, this is how you cut. This is how you cope. This is how you put crown together. Yeah. And so he done one job with me, and then I just started doing jobs. So I went from working my day job to working nighttime, being a service guy. And then once my nighttime job, I would quit working at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. I would start trimming houses. I'd trim till 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. Wow. My girlfriend at the time was in college. I had nothing else better to do to make money. And so when my nighttime job got to making way more money than my daytime job, that's how I got started. All it took was some tools. Yeah. And as I created that network of builders that I was working for, I thought, what else can I introduce? So I knew how to run equipment, So I started doing a little bit of dirt work. I bought me a cheap dozer. I bought me a cheap 2-ton dump truck.
Wow.
And so I might be trimming in the morning, might be doing dirt work in the afternoon. And then I got the opportunity to buy a roll-off company, a dumpster company. And so I bought it. A guy was in need. I had the money. I bought it, paid him cash for it. And so now that one customer, I had 3 services.
Wow.
And, you know, I got my CDL to where I could run the trash truck, I could trim the house, and I could do the dirt work. And I wasn't scared to do anything.
Yeah.
So you think about 07, 08, when the world was falling apart, I never missed a beat.
Wow.
I kept on going. I always had an old man tell me one time, he said, Brooks, always take care of the customer. Your word is all you have. And always make them happy. So I kept that in the back of my head. And so as I was doing business, I always took care of the customer. And that's what created the word opportunities. And God just kept giving me opportunities. And it's when I look back at life, going from having these service companies and then saying, you know what? I want to take these talents and I want to start building my own properties. So I started with flip houses and I made some money flipping a house. I'd buy them for $30,000. I'd take my staff when they wasn't working on a customer's job. I'd make them come over here and flip a house. You know, it may take me a year, but I'd get the big payday at the end of the year. Yeah. Then I said I want to build duplex communities like my father-in-law. So I went and begged a banker to give me $1 million. And that banker was loaning me money on equipment. And he says, Brooks, you know what? Because I always done what I said I'd do. Yeah. He said, I'm going to loan you $1 million.
Wow.
And I said, sir, I promise I won't let you down. He said, I believe in you, and I bet you'll sell it before you finish.
Wow.
Well, he's the one that gave me the inspiration. Go do it.
Yeah.
But I was the carpenter, I was the dirt. I was so scared I wouldn't have enough money. Had no investor. There's no backup plan. Yeah. And so we go get it done. We build 7 duplexes, and I sold them for $1.5 million before I finished it.
Wow.
I said, you know what? I can take all these service companies, start building my own assets, and there's more value in the assets than there is in the service companies. And so that's what I done. And fast forward 5 years later, I was 90%. All my companies. I finally got rid of a few service companies. Yeah. I built a metal factory. We would make metal building kits. Wow. I had my own sand plant. I had, of course, dirt work. So we was so vertically integrated, we couldn't get concrete in Northwest Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So I bought volumetric trucks. Well, when you buy concrete trucks, you got to get the resources. You got to have sand, gravel, and powder. Right. Well, when I found out you couldn't get the powder, that there's kind of monopoly on the powder, and the concrete plants got it all sucked up, I hired an importer that imports whiskey for Walmart. And so he imports out of New Zealand. And I said, sir, so he don't go to work till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So I said, will you come work for me and help me find a resource for cement powder? So we get in my plane, we fly down to Houston, and we run into this guy that we wasn't going to meet, but I met him. Yeah. And I import powder out of Turkey, the cement powder out of Turkey every day. Wow. And every week we're bringing that cement powder out of Houston to Fort Smith, and we mix all of our own cement on site. That's extraordinary. And so some of these companies have been created solving problems. Yeah. And it's all around the multifamily sector.
That's extraordinary. I like to tell my team all the time, there's 3 solutions to every problem. We just got to find them. Another thing that I like to highlight from what you just said is it seems like mentors or other individuals have played a large role in your life. What are some other individuals that have shaped you into the leader and the successful business owner that you are today?
My kids. Wow. My kids. It's amazing. Your kids are your backbone. Yeah. And having their support. Your wife. Leaders that I have been around. We've done 1,800 units. Wow. And I've had a lot of investors throughout that process. I didn't realize it till a couple weeks ago, but we've got my investors over 42% returns on average by building and selling. And most of these projects we sold at C of O. The market's been so good, that's kind of unheard of. Yeah. But when you control from cutting the grass to doing everything, and so what that's done is it's spread the word. Yeah. And it's put some of these other individuals in oil and gas and some other successful industries that says, okay, my stuff kind of does this. Mm-hmm. On multifamily, you can go Google this. Yeah. What's the trends of multifamily? if the rents are $1,200 a day, next year they're going to be $1,300. The next year they're going to be $1,400. So if your appraisal is $45 million a day, I just had a project in Northwest Arkansas. In 2 years, the appraisal went from $45 million to $55 million.
Wow.
$10 million. And so when you start sharing those stories, you start getting introduced to people and get put in some circles. That's pretty empowering. And I'm learning other industries.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, meeting with Colton and understanding his business and how can I take my company and my strategies and help other people. So since my son has gotten healed, and we're out of all that, and he's 100% healed now, and he's good, I have been doing nothing but giving back as much as I can give back. Sharing my story, like people have shared their story with me. People think they got some top secret stuff and nobody wants to share. I want to share everything. Because if I can help somebody that's never been down the path, you don't know what you don't know. And if I can share that, it makes me feel good to help people.
Yeah, that's one thing I found in my life as well that is priceless, is the feeling that God allows us to experience when you help someone and you see it have a positive impact on their life. I think too many times, indeed, in different cultures, especially here in the U.S., we as companies and corporations think there's some secret sauce or some hidden recipe. And it's like, no, it's just hard work, good connections, good people. Like, it's pretty basic. I love the song. It's probably the highlight of my high school song of Where is the Love? We're living in a time and age where it seems like asking for help is a burden, and too many people fear of reaching out and asking for help, not realizing that you're not the only one suffering and going through those challenges. We're all going through some sort of challenge, and if we were just to extend our hand and help the person next to us, how much better off this world would be. I recently saw at a business forum, one of 6 partners get on stage, and he was the keynote speaker. And he was sharing his story and his journey and how he's able to scale his company to almost $1 billion. And long story short, someone from the crowd asks during the Q&A, well, how did you do it? And he's like, I will show you guys how to do it. And he stands in the middle of the stage, and this person that asked the question comes out, and he's like, push me off my feet. And this person gives him a shove, and he imitates tripling and falling. And he's like, I want to call someone else out to the stage. And the person that shoved him is standing to the side. And he calls out his 5 inner circle friends, business partners, just people that are the closest and attributed to his success. And they stand around him, and they're all holding him in place. And he tells this person that asked the question, I want you to shove me again. And this person from the crowd, random person from the crowd, tries to shove him, and he's like pushing him. And then this keynote speaker's not even moving. And listening to your story and the power of your inner circle and these doors have played such a large role in your success, how can you inspire our listeners around the world on building that inner circle and why it's so important to have it?
One thing I learned about my circle is when my son got sick, the people that I least expected to reach out to me were the ones that called me.
Wow.
The ones that I thought were right against me and great friends, they threw rocks.
Wow.
It's some of the hardest times of my life.
Unbelievable.
So that's hard. So the people that you think are your closest, be careful. Sometimes they're critics. And sometimes family's the hardest. When you become successful or you're on that journey, jealousy happens, right? And so we all I heard my wife say it yesterday to somebody else, I put my pants on just like you do. I'm no different. When you get put in that casket, we all get put in the same way. We come into this world with nothing, and you leave with nothing. And so keep that in your mind as you're doing things, right? But as we are going through life, just understand the people that's around you, get you a good circle, get you people that's holding you up. Just like you said, those people that's going to hold you up, because you never know when you may need to be held or they may need to be held up. And so I always want to be that guy. My phone's always available. Anybody that's in my contact list, they can call me with any problem, and I'll be their friend, no matter what's going on. And so when I went through some of my hard times with my son's health, I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know which problem to start solving. I'm a problem solver, and I finally found something in my life I couldn't solve.
Yeah.
And so medical, it's the man upstairs.
Yeah.
You can't physically just make that happen. And so circling up with people that you trust, get that inner circle tight. That is the thing you need to do. And I would say, don't be scared to take chances. Don't be scared to take chances. I tell a lot of high school kids as they're graduating high school, and I speak to a lot of them, dream. Dream big. Write it down. If you want to be a millionaire, put it on your shower wall. Put it on your bathroom wall and say, I want to become a millionaire. Then you put you a roadmap.
Yeah.
And it may take a year, it may take 10 years. But think every day, here's my goals. Guys like you and I need to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
This is my goals for 2025. This is what I want to do by 2026. But write them down and look at them every day.
Yeah.
And dream, and that's where I'm going. I have high school kids that come to me and say, Mr. Norris, I don't know what I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't know where I want to go. I said, what makes you happy? You're 18. You don't have to know that. But what makes you happy? Do you want to be an operator? Do you want to be a truck driver? Do you want to own a dump truck? Or do you want to be the guy that hires the dump truck?
Yeah.
There's all different ways to play into that. But as a young man, I didn't even dream of being a driver.
Yeah.
Then I got my CDL.
Yeah.
Then I bought a truck, and I thought, man, I don't have to own all these trucks. I'm going to be the guy that hires the trucks. But there's so many different places to be in life. But good people around you is the key.
Yeah. Believing in it, in the words of one of the founding fathers of the United States, the greatest country in the world, and the country that we live in, says, if you believe in something, you're already halfway there. And it's very essential to highlight those in our life, and the visions and the goals, and pursuing them. Circling back to inner circle, how do you qualify it in your life? I know many times in my life, one of my mentors always said, create standards. And I've actually written out my standards, and so many times it catches people off guard. But, I have things like, you can't be divorced, and you got to be a devout Christian, and you got to be a successful business owner. And I put a dollar amount to the revenue that business owner has to have. And it helps me kind of mitigate that risk of not having people in my life that will betray me, criticize me. But it has happened. So how have you found in your life to kind of qualify or sort through who you do and do not allow into your inner circle?
Well, as you go through life, like you said, you get in situations. I don't want to be the richest guy in the room. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room, and I want to put a lot of great people around me. It's hard. You get in different situations in life. As you have some things that you go through in life. You figure that out.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it, but I think that as you have a business and you're going through life, and you got these other people in your circle that call out and say, hey, can you help me do what I do or do what you do? I want to be you. I took a high school kid or a college kid, and I met him in Houston. I flew down there to meet his dad. And this young kid said, I want to be you one day. I said, well, come on up and ride with me, be with me. And, I took the time. But you run out of time sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You can't do everything. But so as I'm going back to that question is, how do you spend your time on a daily basis? And who are you going to be around? Because of the nature of what I'm doing, I'm around other businessmen. I'm around people that want to invest. I'm around bankers. I'm around accounting folks. I don't have a lot of other time. You talk about friends. I miss my friends. I don't make a lot of time for my friends, and it's hard.
Yeah.
You look up, and 10 years have went by, and you're like, man, they got kids that's, they was a baby last time I seen them, and they're 10 years old now.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you're in the business. You're going to shows. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're doing networking, and you're trying to do all this stuff. So it's hard to figure that out. But the more years you get underneath your belt, I think it gets easier not to get distracted and chase a lot of rabbits.
Yeah. I want to talk about your biggest success and your biggest failure. Oftentimes we share our biggest success. I think most people define my life by my Instagram reels, which is to an extent fine. I think my team does a wonderful job of portraying my life. They do a terrible job of portraying my challenges, but it's something that we're continuously improving and working on. I've even considered starting an Instagram page of just my failures. I think to date, and I'm confident you have me beat, but my biggest failure was $1.65 million. And it's one that was challenging, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to talk about it. But the lesson I learned there is don't trust anyone, not even your friends. And so I don't know. Do you want to start with the success or failure?
Let me tell you, I've got a great mentor. He's got a Walmart background, 72 years old. Every time I talk to him, he says the same thing. God has a plan,
Yeah.
but we must always verify.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm traveling around the world, meeting lots of different people, working on bringing manufacturing back to the United States. But that's what he says. No matter what situation we're in, everybody we're talking to, I hear that phrase over and over and over again. And so one of my biggest failures is trying to do too much, trying to create too many companies to be the best that I can be. I thought to be a great partner, I had to have all this control, not focus on the main mission and getting away from it. So my biggest failure is taking the time away from my family. I've lost millions of dollars. I've had a lot of mistakes, and I've learned all that the hard way. I graduated with high school and went straight to the industry.
Wow.
I've been working since I was 14 years old. I got my driver's license at 14, and I've been hammered down ever since. And so I didn't go to college. I felt like maybe I should have went to college, learned a little bit, but I paid a lot of money for a lot of mistakes because I didn't know. I didn't know how to read a financial statement. I didn't know what an ROI was. I didn't know what a cap rate was. I didn't know how to put it all together in a presentation form. And so lots of failures, but it's made me who I am today. It's made me who I am today. Some of the best accomplishments that I've ever done, I'm going to go back to my kids. I got an 18-year-old that's in college. He's got 7 or 8 employees.
Wow.
He's running his own business. He's got his own accountant. He's completely separate from my team. He's running his own business every day. I've got a 15-year-old that's running his own business. He's got a firewood business. He sells firewood. I've taught him how to talk to customers. He got a $200 tip because he said yes, sir, to the guy he was delivering to.
Wow.
So the customers are tipping him and teaching him and molding him into the man he's becoming. At 15, he's got his hardship. He delivers firewood every single day. He's a freshman. He's got the seniors working for him. He pays them every week to split firewood, to help them load trailers. He does all the delivering. He's the face of his company. He's got over $30,000 in savings ready to invest in a tiny house.
Wow.
He just wants to invest. He wants to save. He wants to make money. I got 3 boys, but those 2 boys right now are my biggest pride and joy. And I get phone calls on a monthly basis, people calling me saying, boy, you've created some good kids.
That's extraordinary. I'm a loss of words. I'm yet to meet a business owner that said their biggest and greatest success and ordeal in life was their children. And I've heard, and not to put anyone on the spotlight, but Shaquille O'Neal, if you listen to this, I mean, the young man asked him, he says a dollar amount. And there's a school of hard knocks, they go and they ask all these business owners, this dollar amount, dollar amount, and here you're saying your children. Wow, it's almost like we need a moment of silence. That's extraordinary. I know parents are going to be dropping questions in my comment section. How did you do that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, what do we dream of as a young man? What's one of the first things you dream of? Corvette.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember my first Corvette. I think I was 26 years old when I bought my first Corvette. My in-laws were the youngest in the Corvette club. So when you buy a Corvette, they put you in the Corvette club.
Yeah.
They buy your membership, pay you for the first year. So here we go to eat dinner, and there's 20 Corvettes lined up. Everybody's in their 70s, 60s or 70s. My in-laws are in their 50s, and here I am, a 26-year-old. And it was awesome. We were getting to go on all these road trips, and they're all lined up. But you know what? I wouldn't drive that Corvette anywhere.
Yeah.
It was my dream to have it. Then once I received it, it just sat in the garage because I was ashamed to drive it because I didn't want my friends to make fun of me because they couldn't afford it, and I had one. So we're just sitting in the garage, and eventually I just sold it.
Wow.
So it's, you can think about a house, a big house, or I want this, I want that. Once you get it, it's like, oh, I didn't think about the lawn care, the maintenance, the sprinkler system, all the grass that's got to be mowed, the upkeep. You just want it, right? A plane. I never would have dreamed I'd own a plane.
Yeah.
And, you know, but once you have it, it's like the most important thing in life is family.
Amen.
When you talk about money, you know, money can fix a lot of problems. You can do this, you can do that.
Yeah.
But you got to be happy. I know a lot of successful businessmen, men, women, that got a lot of money, but they're in their late retirement age, and they're some of the most miserable
Wow.
people I've seen, because sometimes when you build a business, money comes and things change. Your friendships change, your family, a lot of things change in your circle.
Yeah.
Who wants to be 60, 70 years old with no family and no friends?
Yeah.
So just be careful going through life, the decisions you're going to make, who you're going to be around, because you don't, if you got $200 million in your checking account and you're by yourself, how fun's that?
Right.
I would trade all the money in the world for family and friends and health.
Wow.
And health. Health's the big one.
Yeah, I think the biggest price tag I've ever heard someone put on health was a 76-year-old man that's got, billionaire's got a lot of health issues, and he said that he would transfer 4.4 or 4.6 billion dollars for another 10 years of good health. And too many times we underestimate or undervalue that. But before we transition to health, I just wanted to dive a little deeper into raising children. I'm asked this all the time. I think my parents get asked this more than me. How did you raise a son like Pavel? And the parents will ask me, Pavel, how did your parents parent you? How much did they spank you? Did they not spank you? In the book that I'm publishing this year, I wrote an entire chapter on what my parents did that I think played a role. And one of those was teaching me hard work ethics and helping me solidify my faith. I'm curious to hear from a father's perspective who's got children that are successful and following your footsteps and not being spoiled and not just reaping the fruit of your hard work. What are some things that you've done that allowed your children to follow your footsteps, the footsteps of success?
I taught them how to dream. For example, want a duck boat. Okay, well, we got to go work. We got to make money. And the hard work, pays you dollars. You take those dollars and you buy your toys or whatever you want to have in life.
So you didn't just go and buy it for them?
Nope. I walked into a Honda dealership, and my son wanted a dirt bike. He took his hard-earned money from selling firewood and paid cash for a dirt bike.
Wow.
Decided he wanted another dirt bike, put it on the internet, sold it. Put some more money with it, went and bought another one. Making your kids work. A lot of people don't agree. You know, they want to be buried in this, but we manage travel ball, we manage work, we manage school. They have girlfriends. They're learning at an early age. You got to manage all those things. Yeah. My son was 16 years old, and Mama says, Brooks, you need to go talk to Caden. Caden's stressed. I'm like, why is he stressed? He's got a girlfriend that's mad at him because he's always busy, and he's got I bought him a pickup. I gave him a pickup for 16 years old. It was a half-ton pickup. Well, he wanted a cool diesel pickup like his old dad.
Yeah.
So I went and bought the truck, and I created him a finance plan. I said, your payment is $500 a month.
Yeah.
His mama says, he can't make a payment. And I said, he's going to if he wants it.
Yeah.
The payment made him accountable. Because he had a payment, he had to work. Yeah. So he had, him and his brother had the firewood business together till he went off to college. And so he's cutting firewood. Well, he can't go see his girlfriend because he's cutting firewood. When he's not cutting firewood, he's studying. And, you know, it's a busy schedule. Yeah. I said, son, if your girlfriend loves you, she'll go cut firewood with you. Put her next to the splitter. She can run the handle. And I got a picture of them out there splitting firewood. And you incorporate it all together. And I always tell people, I felt like me and my wife kind of leaped forward because we both had the same goals. My wife, when my son got sick, had 4 jobs. She's in the medical field. Wow. She gets up in the morning. She'd go round at a hospital, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, she'd be at the clinic, work at the clinic from 8 to noon, see patients in the clinic. Then she would come to my office and help at my office, help pick out colors and stuff. She was the decorator. And then she would take call and work at another hospital a couple hours away, and she would do that on the weekend. So she was managing 4 different gigs.
Wow.
Before my son got sick. And then I'm over here managing 12.
Yeah.
So you can talk, it's busy, but it don't have to be that crazy.
Yeah.
But managing your time and leading by example for your kids. You said something earlier, about the people that you want to have around you. Is I always want to lead by example to my kids, my friends, my people that work with me. As I'm the owner of the company, I'm the CEO. I'm always going to lead by example. How I talk to people, how I treat people. And so it's amazing what happens 20 years later when you keep those same morals and you just remember every day. You look in my office, it says blessed. And I live by that. I've been blessed with opportunity, and I've taken those opportunities. And, I would say some of them I probably shouldn't have done, but I have navigated through them, and I think today I am who I am because of the good things and the bad things.
That's extraordinary. The journey to success, it's got the ups and it's got the downs. I want to reverse engineer your biggest deal. I observed through my short journey of owning a business, I think I started about 5 years ago, that every big success or every big deal that I've closed has had a unique set of steps that led up to it. And I always like to reverse my favorite client, reverse my favorite deal, reverse my favorite sale. And I think my biggest success that I always like to share is the funding that I've been able to secure. The funding for this state-of-the-art facility, $7.2 million project here. The funding I've been able to secure for our next phase of growth. We're looking at about $35-40 million project, and I'm still under 30. I'm knocking on the door of 30, but I'm not quite across the threshold. And as I reverse the success it took to secure these large sums of funding, I noticed it really breaks down a relationship. I was really struck when I was able to close my first multi-million-dollar loan, and I was like, wow, like merit played a role, but to be honest, it was my relationships with the bank and other banking clients and owners, along with my story and drive and the mindset of I'll do whatever it takes to succeed. And if I have to sell my car and my house to make a payment, I'll do that. And that's just who I am as an individual. And so for you, what was the greatest accomplishment? And if you're comfortable sharing a dollar amount next to it, and what are the steps that led to you having that great accomplishment?
So me, with all those service companies that I had, I cherry-picked some folks out of it to become my construction company, to be a general contractor to build projects. So my second apartment complex that I ever built, I sold it as I was starting it. So I knew what my price tag was. Okay. And that team, I was going to get penalized if I did not close by December, the end of December, $500,000. And I remember specifically there was a mistake on the job. The mistake is water was flowing towards the center of my project instead of away. So my team that was up there failed on me. They were my employees. And so Brooks, I took all the gravel up, I dropped the grade, I ran the road grader, I ran the dozer, I ran the trackhoe, I got light towers, I worked around the clock, I wore the same clothes for 2 days. I didn't fail. I got the project finished. I closed by the end of the year. The asphalt guy was coming, so I was making sure I was going to be there. I closed that deal. I made some good returns on that thing. I gave $35,000 bonuses to my leadership team for Christmas. Keep in mind, these employees were making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. We're at the country club for Christmas, and my then was probably a 10, 12-year-old, my middle child. He's always an observer and listening. We went from the party back to the men's room, and I handed that card to these employees, and every one of them bawled. We cried together, and my son watched how powerful that was. To be able to give $35,000 bonuses Now, I've only done that once in my life,
Yeah.
but be able to take my rewards and share those rewards, that was the best feeling in the world. Now, I've got a great one where I went to an auction, nobody was there. I bought a piece of land, 10 acres for $100,000, and 6 weeks later, I sold it for $1.3 million. It's because of my knowledge.
Yeah.
It was next to a railroad. I knew something. I knew what the value was. I was at the right place, the right time. I was blessed. I knew who to sell it to. It's a whole life of things that happen to
Yeah.
you and your knowledge, and just being at the right place at the right
Yeah.
time. And so lots of great things. And so
What does one have to do to be at the right place, the right time, to have the team to execute on that deal? Because it sounds like you wouldn't have been able to pull it off on your own, and your team worked around the clock with you. So, in addition to the extraordinary team, what else can one do to ensure they are at the right place at the right time and be able to be a part of these big wins?
you got to be a great leader. We have to be great leaders. We don't do any of this ourselves. You got to empower your team. You got to have great team. I mean, I've got employees that's been with me 12, 14 years. I've seen a bank that has a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And on that Facebook page at that bank, I'm seeing people that are retiring, been there their entire life, never worked another job. That inspires me that I want the people that work for me, I want their kids to work for me. I want their grandkids. I want my kids to come in. I want to build that team. Yeah. And it's being great to the people. You're having outings with your staff. You're going fishing. You're going duck hunting. You're going deer hunting. You're making those connections. Yeah. I had a guy call me one time, 6 o'clock in the morning, and he said, Brooks, I got some bad news. This is an employee. And I said, sir, what's going on? What can I help you with? He said, they're going to repo my house. They're going to settle on the courthouse at the courthouse steps today at 12 o'clock. I was mad because he gave me hours.
Yeah.
I went to the bank and I wrote a check and I paid that guy's house off.
Wow.
His family had no clue what was fixing to happen.
Wow.
He was just in a bad spot. I wasn't happy. I was blessed that I was able to help him.
Yeah.
But I got a brother for life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's life-changing events to be able to help people. Now, it wasn't big numbers. It really wasn't big numbers. It was less than $20,000. But it was the fact that he was going to lose. It was worth a lot more than $20,000. But for whatever reasons, we got in that situation. I was physically able to help, and just always doing the right thing. Always doing the right thing, and that team. Today we're putting deals together. We have a team in the Philippines that helps us. We've got a team that we're bringing on in India that's helping us. We have a great team here in the States that helps us. It's the whole team that makes everything what we do and what makes happen. It's not me. Now, I put a lot of hours in, but it's the people around me. So anytime I can change the lives of somebody else, that's what makes my heart feel good.
That's extraordinary. I agree with you that it's not even in the amount of dollars, even though I mean, that's large sums, what you mentioned. But unfortunately, companies don't do that today. I marvel sometimes looking at some of these bigger companies and smaller companies and the amount of wealth and their bottom line. Even look at publicly traded companies, and I don't want to call anyone out by name, but looking at some millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and they don't go out of their way to do good to their people. I'm often asked, Paul, how and why do you give out cars every year to manager? And that's just kind of something that's personal to me. I started off in a $900 minivan off the auction, and I was in construction then and didn't even have money for the repair, so I took drywall screws for my drywall guy, and I used it to attach the damaged bumper, and then I took staples and I stapled the airbags back together. And for me, it's just something I take close to heart, and that's why every year I buy new cars for my employees. Why do you think companies today don't do that, and what advice would you have for companies that do want to do that and have not started yet?
Well, there's a lot of people that's in hard times today as we speak. So a lot of companies the margins are pretty thin right now. Most companies work off volume, right? And so as it gets down, it's hard.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things, and my COO is a good example. It can be a card, personal letter from you that says, Mr. Employee, I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job. Thank you for what you do for Norris Group every day. Wow. Signed by Kelly Clark. It don't have to be money, but it could be things that make people want to be a part of the team. Yeah. It makes people want to be a part of your network, because that person's going to go tell the next person, the next person. And, you know, when people have hard times, you help them out. Sometimes it's just a matter of listening. Yeah. Pick up the phone. I try to go once a week, and I try to identify somebody in or out of my company, somebody in my circle, and I try to call them and tell them how proud of them are. Wow. One of the last guys I called was a guy that was looking at going to prison. Wow. He graduated high school, and, you know, we didn't know. We kind of thought he might go to jail. Yeah. He ended up turning his life around. He owns his own company. Wow. And I've hired him to do for his company, do some services for me, and he done a great job. And I seen him going down the road one day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, hey, I just wanted to call you and tell you I don't need anything, but buddy, you just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm proud of you. Yeah. I can count on one hand how many times that's happened to me in my life. Yeah. I was trimming a house one day, and then Mr. Gary Griffin, local builder in Fort Smith, Arkansas, said, you're going to become something one of these days. Wow. You're going to be somebody one of these days.
That's extraordinary.
He sold me my lot for my house I built for my wife. Yeah. He's driving down the road, 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 years later, calls me and says, hey, Brooks, I just want to tell you, that is a beautiful house you built. Son, I'm just proud of you. Wow. How many people in your life have told you, man, you're doing a great job? There's not that many. You hear a lot of negatives, and people say that you're doing this or you're doing this wrong or whatever. So I want to be that guy that calls somebody and says, you know what, you just keep doing what you're doing. I'm your biggest cheerleader.
And it doesn't cost anything, and it changes lives. I feel like more than any dollar amount ever could.
That's how this podcast can be powerful. Coaching people, having that connection with them, giving them advice. No. It's free. Yeah. It's free. It's. I'm helping you change your life. Yeah. Can I help you make a decision financially? Can I help you make a decision by doing this? I see people now that are following people's, if there's apps out there now to where they can, if I'm in the stock market and I'm buying these stocks, and you can buy this app to follow me on these stocks, you know, that's kind of, you know, people watching what other people's doing. Yeah. So leading by example is what that leads to. Yeah. You got all these people around you. If I'm leading by example, I'm teaching everybody every day the moves I make and how I make it. If I made it through hard times, which was hard times when my son got sick, how'd you make it? How'd you deal with finances? How'd you deal with time? Yeah. When your son gets sick and you're gone as much as I was, it was hard to get clothes washed. It was hard to eat dinner. We had people bringing dinner from church. The friends from church created a group, and they would bring us dinner. Every night of the week, we had a new dish. Wow. You don't realize how hard it is just to eat or wash your clothes when times get tough. So when things are good, I'd say if everybody's healthy, I'm good. Yeah. You know, life's great. I don't care how hard it could be at work. Life's good if everybody's healthy. So return those favors to people and lead by example.
Yeah, that's powerful. Why do you think it's so hard for people to just be kind? You know, it seems like for every one compliment or encouragement that I get today, I'm just going to estimate a conservative number, 1,000 critics and just negative feedback, and you know, a lot of times derogatory and mean, and everything from we're going to blow you and your family up to you're a hypocrite and you're a failure and you're going to fail. And I'd say it's a 1 to 1,000 ratio, maybe even more. Why do you think that is?
Well, reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, how do a lot of people make decisions? Fear and greed, right? That also goes with a lot of people that are negative. They're either fearful or they're jealous, greed. Yeah. I've learned you can't make everybody happy. You can't make it, and that's hard because I'm a guy that I don't want nobody not like me, and I want to keep everybody happy. It's hard. Yeah. But if you go back and look, why did that person act that way? Why did that person say that about me? There's a lot of jealous. Yeah. And so just be nice, be kind, treat people. This is pretty simple. What Grandpa always say, treat people how you want to be treated, right?
Exactly.
More people, you know, I grew up, my family was, down this one side of the aisle. Once I got my own business, I'm on this side. But you know what? I get along with everybody. Wow. Okay? Can we all come together in this nation and get along? Yeah. I don't care whether you're wearing a blue tie or a red tie.
Right.
Let's all sit in a room and make a decision together. When I go to my office and we got big decisions to make, I make them as a company. I don't make them by myself.
Yeah.
If we win, we're going to win together. If we're going to fail, we're going to fail together.
Exactly.
Because guess what? If you're failing at something, guess who's in there to help you fix it? That entire team that made those decisions.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how I do things.
Yeah.
And so as you're going down that path, always just make the right decisions.
Yeah.
God will bless you in life. And sometimes when you get in the ditch, it's hard to see the future. But if you just get up every day and make the right decision, put one foot in front of the other, I promise you tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday.
Yeah, it reminds me of what my dad always used to tell us in regards to if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. And if you can't crawl, just roll over. And all it takes is one incremental step forward. I think too many times we get boggled down and discouraged, and taking to heart very personal negative feedback, criticism, challenges, lawsuits, and sometimes even death. Failing to see that, and I don't want to sound like I'm silver lining it, but failing to see the greater picture, the greater the greater vision, the end goal, and how we just have to take that one step at a time. As we transition into the final section of our podcast, what other advice or words of wisdom from your experiences and everything you've lived through could you leave for our listeners today?
Don't be scared to try something new. A lot of people dream about, I want to have another source of income. Start small. If you've got a business and you're working 8 to 5 every day and you want to have passive income, start one a year. Then it's 2 a year. Then it's 3 a year of something. It can be duplexes. It can be houses. It can be tiny houses. It can be mini storages. Just find you some kind of passive income. Because in a business to where you're 8 to 5, punching the clock, whatever it can be, just get you another source of income. Then make money while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
That's what an old man told me sitting around that dinner table. He said, Brooks, you got to figure out how to make money while you're sleeping. You can only make so much money a day with your hands, period. So take your hands and create something, whether it's buying an old house and fixing it up and your debt's here and you can make money here. There's a spread between your payment and what your income is. Just start somewhere.
Yeah.
And you'll look up 10 years from now and you got 15 or you got 20. Everything in this world is a numbers game, right? So volume is what you need to create. If you have one rental and you have a heat and air unit go out, you've lost for the whole year. But if you got 10 rentals and a heat and air unit goes out, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. So the number one thing I've done, I think the best thing I've done, is create passive income. And stack that. And when you get ready to retire, you have your retirement, plus you got some assets making money for you. Whether you're in a business like you are here today and you're making money, if the lights shut off tomorrow, how are you going to have income? If you're an NFL football player and you're playing football every day, sometime one of these you're going to be done at some point.
Yeah.
And if you made all that money and you've not invested any of it, you're going to be a football coach.
Yeah.
So invest.
Yeah.
I invest in real estate. There's plenty of songs out there about dirt.
Yeah.
Right? Buy dirt.
Buy dirt.
If that dirt's worth $100,000 a day, it's probably not going to go backwards.
Yeah.
It's if you don't know I don't know the stock market. I don't know the stuff about Bitcoin, so I don't invest in that stuff.
Yeah.
I invest in real estate, something tangible,
Yeah.
something that's going to make money and it's going to improve. It's going to have appreciation. I had a guy tell me this year.
Yeah.
He said, Brooks, you may make more money than you've ever made in your life on appreciation. This building cost you $7.2 million. Fast forward 4 years from now, and I bet it's worth $10 or $11 million.
Wow.
So invest in tangible assets that you can understand and you can have a body in there making you income.
Wow, I love that. I think it's something that I'm starting to make amends with agreeing that starting and running a service-based or product-based business not for everyone. But the more I listen to successful individuals like yourself with, hundreds and thousands of units through your career, I'm starting to realize that buying one rental property is essentially available for anyone. And I look at just the middle class and a lot of young families and middle-aged families. There really isn't a reason not to buy one property a year or one additional property every few years, but just doing something. There's really not a reason not to be able to do that, especially with the lending opportunities that we have today.
Google can tell you a lot.
Yeah.
Find you a market that is trending in the right direction. Look at the history of the market.
Yeah.
Use your resources online. What were rents 5 years ago? What are they today? On multifamily, they're appraised off of income.
Yeah.
They're not valuing your asset off of what the brick and the wood and the shingles are worth. They're basing it off the income.
Yeah.
It's an income approach. And so I built some duplexes. My cost when I built them was about $225. I held on to them for 4 or 5 years, 3 years maybe. $425 is what I sold them for.
Wow.
Sold a whole street for $380.
Wow.
When people told me I couldn't do it, I had a banker tell me that's a slow way to get rich. I made more money than he'll make his entire career being a banker on the sell of one street, right?
Yeah.
You can't go wrong in assets. You can't go wrong in assets. And yes, you can be husband and wife, work an 8 to 5 job, put your resources together. Some simple things. Find you something you can put paint on. You can clean up the landscaping, put some new flooring in. Renter moves out. You can go over and clean it yourself. A lot of the things can be done by yourself. Find you a product that's something that's within your wheelhouse of being able to manage. And it can be a tiny house. It can be a mobile home. It could be just, renting, buying a little mini storage. There's tons of ways to do it. I met a guy down in Florida that took every dollar, all of his credit cards he had, and he started buying supercars, right?
Yeah.
So then he started renting them out. And then, he just grew, and now the young man's in his early 30s.
Yeah.
He's got a whole lineup of fancy cars, and he leases them out. People land down there, and he's got all these cars, and he started with one, and using all of his credit card debt and cash he had to buy that one.
Yeah.
And now it can be in any kind of asset.
Yeah. I like to tell loan officers whenever they give me a hard time and not understanding my vision and what I've been through and what I've overcome and how I'm able to navigate as God with me any challenge. I love telling loan officers there's a reason. I am a shareholder in multiple banks. You are the loan officer. Trust me. I've done it before. This is how I'm going to do this deal. This is how I'm going to do many other deals. And I'd love to have you a part of my journey. And, like I've mentioned, there should not be any reason with the amount of funding options out there that anyone, whether you're married or not married or 17 to 16, 15, 14, or, 32, not to start. Just start somewhere. I love that. I'd like to finish off with, Suits and Shoes, the podcast, clothing. It's a hot topic, I feel like, in every generation. It's a controversial topic in between different generations. And it's something I've struggled through, I feel like, most of my life. What do I wear? How do I fit in? I just find a nice outfit, and next thing I know, I'm being told, hey, you're dressing like an old man. And that's fine. The last time a young man told me I dressed like an old man, I had him come up and touch my shirt. And I love sharing the story over and over again. And then he touched my shirt, and I'm like, do you know what material this is? And he goes, no, what is it? And I said, that right there, what you just felt, is $53 million. And so what is your kind of philosophy in clothing, and what is your go-to outfits?
So this is a funny story behind this. Coming from where I came from, I got told, you're not old enough, all this other stuff. I started wearing slacks, dress shoes, the most expensive outfit I could find. People treat you different by what you wear, right? So when I started getting going, I was in my early 20s. You'd catch me in some slacks and a button-up shirt. And as I got older in the last 5-10 years, I show up at ball games. I'm in a dress coat, blue jeans, and boots. And everybody's like, why are you dressed up all the time? Because they know I'm in the construction industry. Yeah. They associate construction with work clothes, right? Yeah. So you catch me a lot of times in boots, blue jeans, and a sport coat. I've got a cowboy hat. I love wearing my cowboy hat, but I've been criticized for wearing a cowboy hat. But I love wearing it. That's just me. That's who I am. I've got a farm, cattle, and I just love the hat. But, dress to the occasion. But pairing clothes with cars.
Yeah.
I have a service truck. It's got tools on it. It's got ladders on the back. It's got work boots in it. You'll catch me in nice clothes, pull up to my office in a service truck. I have been criticized about driving a service truck. But you know why I drive it? So when I pull up on that job site, that guy is like, man, he's one of us.
Yeah.
I can pull up my brand new Ford pickup, but I drive that service truck more than I drive that Ford pickup.
Yeah.
And it's like people judge you by how you fit in. So I have an apartment complex. I'm building it. I'm dressed in regular clothes.
Yeah.
And I told my supervisor, if you want to be the man, you got to dress like the man.
Yeah.
He's in slacks, button up, nice sport coat. He's the job superintendent. This is true. Guy walks up and goes, I need to speak to the boss. He went straight to that guy.
Yeah.
He walked right by me, didn't know who I was or anything. So I love you talk about what you're wearing, what you're doing every day. It plays a part in who you are. It plays a part in who you are. You got to dress the occasion, whatever you're doing. If you're going to see the banker, dress nice.
Yeah.
If you're working in your company, to get the respect, you got to dress nice. I show up to my office a lot of times in blue jeans and a jacket because Monday mornings and Tuesdays there's a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
You'll catch me at the end of the week just wearing button-up shirts, and I show up with tennis shoes on sometimes.
Yeah.
And so try to just lead by example.
Yeah. I think I get it. That's closely aligns with my philosophy on it. Well, I think it's in part because my youngest friend is 46, 47 years old, and my oldest friend is 93. So I have older friends. But what about this Gen Z that we're seeing? Like, at what point is too much, or have to draw a boundary? I mean, I'm pretty in shock of what we're seeing. From torn up jeans and I think it even aligns with the lack of respect and attitude. At some point, are you and I gonna have to put on those torn up tight jeans, or are we gonna tolerate it?
I don't think I'm gonna look very good in skinny jeans.
Yeah, me neither. I got nice legs. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. It. I go back to when I was 7th grade school dance.
Yeah.
Remember Jinkos?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Jinkos?
Yeah.
I remember it was so exciting. I wanted those wide leg Jinkos. So I go back to my younger days and I thought, what in the world was I thinking? And I thought it was so cool to wear those pants to that dance, and I had to have them. Yeah. And we went and got them. But you just go to a restaurant and sit down and eat dinner, and there's no telling what you're going to see when you sit down.
Right.
And what's scary is our kids grow up in school systems. They're exposed to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So we have to wrap our hands around our kiddos. My wife is in the mental health field, so she sees a lot of stuff that's just, I don't know how she comes home happy every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, baby, you hear all those crazy things and you see all that. How can you come home just excited about life? Because it's depressing. And so I tell my kids, just lead by example, but I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand.
And
so I'm blessed. I got all boys. So boots and blue jeans is something good in the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I have the opportunity to work with a lot of young people across the country and in other countries, and I always like to break it down. Like, hey, what was your thought process? What was your reasoning behind wearing this outfit? Behind you purchasing this product? And too many times, unfortunately so, it boils down to what others think of you. And I always like to highlight and say, well, if the opinions of others are invalid, and that played zero role in our decision making, and you had the opportunity to wear whatever you wanted to wear, what would you wear? And I marvel how, I would say almost 10 out of 10 times, the answer I get is I'd wear something modest. I'd wear some jeans or some slacks and just a dress shirt or sweater or a blank t-shirt. And I'm like, why do you have to go your entire life to reach that conclusion? Why don't you just take it with a little bit of faith and a little bit of trust to people that have lived a life and just start doing it today? because it does take discipline. It does take a certain amount of years, if not decades, to come to the realization of what you've been blessed with, what I've been blessed with, to come to that understanding of, wow, other people's opinions are irrelevant. I just want to do what I want to do. Well, that wraps up our podcast. I would just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I know what you shared today has already impacted my life, and I hope it's impacted and had a positive influence on all of our listeners. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And if you have any feedback, drop it in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like button and the share button. Share this with your friends. Share this with your family. Anyone that you think can have a positive impact. You can take that first step today of, it doesn't cost you anything to change someone's life. Share with them this podcast. And if you'd like to be featured or you know someone that wants to be featured, go to paulvobosek.com. Let's connect. I want to share their story. I want to share your story. Thank you, and I look forward to meeting you on the next one.